I'm so glad you dropped in for this episode. I have Martin Pytela on, who's going to talk about how food is medicine. And we all have different metabolic types that are very unique. And if we can understand more about our metabolic type, we can understand how the food that we eat actually impacts our physical, emotional, and mental health. So let's dive in with Martin Pytela as we talk about metabolic typing and how food is your medicine. Dentist, let's talk innovation. Coltine is dedicated to advancing patient care with a comprehensive product line that covers it all. Restorative, preventive, endo, and small equipment like ultrasonics, scalers, and curing lights. Trusted by dental professionals worldwide, Coltine products are known for their quality, durability, and research-driven design. We're here to help you optimize patient outcomes with tools that deliver unmatched precision and reliability. Elevate your practice with Coltine, where innovation meets excellence. Learn more at Coltine.com. Dental professionals, are you ready to transform your workflow? Meet SciCan, your partner in cutting-edge sterilization technology. From the speed of Statim and StatClave to the precision of Hydrum, Bravo, and the power of Optum wipes, SciCan makes sterilization safe, efficient, and effective. With a focus on SPEC, that's safe, predictable, efficient, compliant, SciCan delivers innovative tools designed to help you provide better patient care with confidence. Trust SciCan to streamline your practice and make every step easier. Discover the future of dental sterilization at SciCan.com today. Welcome back to On the Cusp. I'm your host, Dr. Brett Gilbert, here with another incredible guest today. One who's going to shed incredible insight on nutrition and how we fuel our bodies and why. Martin Pytela is an amazing man. He's got an incredible backstory. He's got a certified metabolic typing advisor background. So think about that, metabolic typing. And we're going to talk quite a bit about that today because it's such an important concept for us to consider, because there's no one size fits all when it comes to nutrition and how our bodies process food. He's a founder of Life Enthusiast, which is a really robust website, including a store that sells a lot of different products to help us really with our health. I love the concept of healing through education and healing through nutrition. And I think as clinicians, where we're oftentimes getting behind the eight ball on how we take care of ourselves, I think that this conversation is going to be incredibly helpful. He is the host of the Life Enthusiast podcast. He's got a vast background in metabolic typing, in diet, in nutrition. And I want to welcome Martin to the show. Welcome.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Brett. It's an honor, really.
Awesome. Well, I've been a fan of what you're doing and listening to your podcast and gaining some tremendous insight. So first and foremost, before we start, Martin, I always like to start each episode. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're feeling grateful for today?
Gratitude is the wavelength on which health travels. The thing that's on my mind is I'm feeling hopeful that someday we will separate food from drugs. I would like the organization that administers drugs to be separated from the organization that administers food. Because I'm in the camp where food is the medicine, and I don't want to be arguing over or treating food as if it were a toxic item that I have to certify, analyze. Just recently, I also have a business that manufactures superfoods. And I said, I would like to get the CGMP certification on it, because after all, we want to show people that we're right. And the process says, do not trust the person that is supplying you the product. You have to analyze each of the things that comes in. No, do not trust the tests that they said they did. So my gratitude is in advance. I'm borrowing from the future, and gratitude for the change that I hope is coming.
You're manifesting, some changes. And, to your point, I love this concept that, if you make food your medicine, you can avoid making medicine your food. And, the concept, just to your point, and that's really why I'm so excited to have you here and to learn from you and the wisdom that you've learned over the years in terms of, why it's not like one size fits all. And the things that someone's eating across the room for you may be great for them, but they may be terrible for your own makeup. So can you take us into the world of metabolic typing?
Yeah.
How do you describe this? And ultimately, what would be the most important things for us as clinicians to understand in an effort to help ourselves and our patients?
Yeah. Yeah. Biological individuality really is the important point here. And the kind of disciplines that treat a person rather than a result of a test really matters, because one of us may be high in calcium and yet still need more relative to somebody else, right? So this biological individuality, well, somewhere along the way, we have evolved in ways where we could be left-handed or right-handed. Well, in the metabolic system, we could be either an oxidizer or an autonomic. The autonomic people have a dominance where carbohydrates are alkalizing to them and fats and proteins are acidifying. And the oxidizers are reversed. They are acidified by carbohydrates and alkalized by fats and proteins. And here's what it does. We have this inner terrain. The blood is maintained very, very narrowly at around 7.35 on the pH scale, just slightly to the alkaline. And the blood will protect itself at the expense of everything else, like all the extra cellular or maybe even intracellular fluids will be buffering so that the blood can stay in the narrow range. Anyhow, when you alkalize, the first thing you notice that you tend to be more pleasant, but you procrastinate. And you will, if you alkalize even more, you will become kind of hopeless or despondent. And if you really over-alkalize, you get depressed. That's the mental state of over-alkaline. Now, the mental state of acidity, you get up early, you're probably out of bed in second gear, but you tend to be somewhat lacking in social graces. And then if you get even more acidic, you start interrupting others, cutting in traffic, elbows in, get out of my way. And then anger, road rage, that's the externally expressed acidity. And if it's expressed inwardly, you'll get anxiety. You'll be rehashing your past, thinking of what you should have or shouldn't have done, or you'll be catastrophizing your future somehow, thinking about how everything is going to not go right, or just anxiety. That's the acidic state.
How far off of those ranges do we go from 7.3, like to be considered acid versus alkaline? Is it is it like to 5? Is it to 8? Like, what is the range?
Oh, very, very small. Not much at all. Right? It's just like 0.5 points. Yeah, we're maintaining that narrow, right? Like if your inner terrain goes below 6, you're in the cancer territory. So no, it's quite narrow.
Is it only tested through blood, or are there other test specimens that can give you?
Yeah, when they were doing the original research, they were taking venous blood after a meal. The other way it can be tested is with glucometers. And here's what you get. You would test the blood at the time you're sitting down to eat, 30 minutes later, 30 more, 30 more, 30 more. And you can do the same thing with blood glucose. And you will see that some people, after eating something starchy, will spike really steep and then fairly quickly get to level again and just maintain. Whereas others will spike and will take a long time sloping back to normal. So these two types, one type is quite effective at converting food into energy. And we need to try to slow them down. So we need to feed them fats, because fats are slower converting into energy than carbs. And the people who are less efficient, they need to be fed carbs, because otherwise they are suffering from just not enough energy. So we have these 4 corners on the graph here. We would like to be in the middle somewhere, but this corner will be the parasympathetic person who will be overly alkaline and will need proteins and fats to get back to center. Up there, that will be the sympathetic dominant. They will be overly acidic, but they will need starchy things to move to the middle. And the oxidizers, slow oxidizers, are overly alkaline but need carbs to get back to the middle. And fast oxidizers are overly acidic and need fats to get back to the middle. So now we have this test. Instead of having to take the venous blood and instead of having to prick your finger and all of that, we can ask you about 120 multiple choice questions, and we'll come back to you with two answers. One, how you alkalize or acidify, and two, what your endocrine dominance is. And endocrine dominance dictates how you gain and how you lose weight. And the three major dominances are thyroid, adrenal, and pituitary. And some women can also be dominant in the estrogen, so gonadal dominant. Interesting. And so, for example, the thyroid dominant person will be tempted by starchy foods, but will gain weight on starchy foods. Whereas an adrenal dominant will be tempted by savory foods and will gain weight on the diets that will make the thyroid person skinny. So there's yours, right? Like one person will go on a ketogenic diet and say, this is awesome. I'm in great mood and I'm in awesome shape. I can't gain any fat. I'm just buff. Well, that person's probably a fast oxidizer.
Very interesting. Very interesting. And what I'm most interested in is in this discussion already, you've described the different types of metabolizers,
Yeah.
but you brought mood and mental health and emotional, even social health into it. So I find that actually fascinating that I don't think many of us consider what we're eating having that type of impact. So can you shed a little more light on maybe how someone might become aware that they're maybe feeding themselves the wrong way?
Yeah, the best example will be a Christmas party where alcohol is served, because alcohol is a fairly strong carbohydrate. So the oxidizer is going to be acidified by it, and the autonomic is going to be alkalized by it. So the autonomics, after the first drink, they go jovial and friendly and pleasant. And after the second drink, they will be oversharing, probably, saying things that they, oh God, what did I do that? Right? I shouldn't have shared that. Now on a third drink, probably start crying. Fourth drink, probably asleep. Now the oxidizers are different. With the first drink, they just brighten up, get louder. On the second drink, they get really loud and start arguing. They will find things that they disagree with easily. And on a third drink, they will pick a fight. And they cannot go to sleep. If they keep drinking, they'll stay up all night or all day after that. Like you can go on a bender as an oxidizer because the more you drink, the more awake you are and more contrarian and more willing to punch somebody out. So there's your Christmas party. You can sort the groups on oxidizers and autonomics. Easy. Now, the fast oxidizers will get there quicker than the slow oxidizers, and the parasympathetics get there faster than the sympathetics. Because, like these four corners, the vector points this way. So if you're already starting in the right corner and you're vectoring off, you're just off the charts pretty quick.
Very interesting. Very interesting. And so you mentioned alcohol being a very strong carbohydrate. Are there other foods that we eat that also would be at that level of carbohydrate where you could do potassium?
Well, the 5 things that we should never eat, right? Refined flour, refined sugar, refined salt, refined seed oils, and dairy that's been pasteurized and homogenized, right? All of those things are deadly. All of the hyper-processed, over-processed, easy-to-digest foods, they are going to be very, rocket fuel, right? They'll take you off your balance quickest.
And tell us why. Is that because of the impact on gut biome, or what is the main mechanism for why they're so deadly?
Well, specifically grains like rice, wheat, potato. So that's not a grain, but white potato, white rice, all of that stuff is the glycemic index on it is high, 100 or even over 100, right? Like it's super easy to convert into glucose. So the moment you convert something into glucose, you're spiking, you're having an event. You're going to go hyper. So you can go hyper on candy or you can go hyper on alcohol. Take a pick. And what's interesting is this. So starch converts into straight glucose. Sucrose is 1 glucose, 1 fructose. That actually has a glycemic index of 70, not 100. But HFCS, high fructose corn syrup, even though it's loaded with fructose, it actually has index of 87. Now, here's an interesting tidbit. Fructose is digested or processed only in the liver. Glucose can be stored in the muscle and processed in the muscle, but fructose only in the liver. So as you're raising your fructose intake, you're going to load up on your liver. So alcohol and fructose, you're going to give yourself one heck of a hangover.
Yeah. Wow. And so this is very interesting. So you do obviously metabolic typing. And so you're describing kind of a, what's actually probably very effective, but kind of a benchtop type of experiment. But what would the more formal process, like if someone were to work with you and to try to really understand their metabolic type, can you walk us through what that process is like?
Well, actually, it is a quiz. We ask about 120 multiple choice questions.
Oh, that's right.
And we ask you, when I eat high protein breakfast, I feel, you tell me, right? And it's going to be, and so this would be, I feel satiated, I feel stable, I feel calm, and I feel strong. Well, that alkalized you, but not too much, right? I feel unsettled, argumentative, and I don't know, some other verbs on it. Well, that's going to be a descriptor of the acidic effect. Right? So anyway, we have a lot of redundancy in the questions. So we'll eventually come to understanding how you react at breakfast, at lunch, at dinner. We will find out, well, for example, one of the questions, my ears are more pink than the rest of my face. My cheeks are usually red. My pupils are usually tightly closed or widely open. You have to go look at the mirror, right? Stuff like that. So at the end of that, we will answer those 2 questions. You're either an oxidizer or autonomic. How you go, which vector? Are you left-handed or right-handed? Right? That's easily found because how you hold the hockey stick or how you hold the hammer, it just clearly tells me if you are left-handed or right-handed dominant. Well, so I'll answer the dominance for you so I can tell you, well, for example, so the endocrine dominants, the adrenal dominant do best on a small or zero breakfast, light lunch, heavy dinner. The pituitary dominant are the other way around. Big breakfast, medium lunch, zero dinner. And the thyroid types, they do best on 3 meals, about equal size, some protein each. Okay? So go figure, right?
So us instructing and culturally being conditioned into 3 meals a day isn't really necessarily the best thing for certain people, or it has to be parsed out in ways that are most appropriate for the body. I don't think enough discussion is happening in the world, on this. And I think that's why I was so intrigued by having you on as a guest, because I think ultimately my goal is as a clinician. So I work full time in my clinic. I put in a tremendous effort from the morning all the way into the evening some days. And, some days I feel better than others. But what can we each do to make sure that we're feeding ourselves the best stuff? So Can you talk a little bit about how we can start to unpack the best way to plan out our nutrition as a clinician through the day?
Yeah. Well, so right back, number 1, do not eat the five foods that I listed. Refined stuff, refined flour, sugar, salt, plant oils, and dairy. Just don't. So that leaves you with organic. That leaves you with pasture raised, all of that sort of good stuff, right? If it has a barcode on it, start reading the ingredients. If you start stumbling on the polysyllabic, this stuff that's there, it's probably not healthy. Like, for example, if you have stuff like BHA in the food, it's meant to make it last longer, but it's toxic to you. If you're going to eat potato chips, well, maybe you should make them yourself. Like that, right? So how would I best plan my day? Well, I would figure out my endocrine dominance. For example, I'm a classic thyroid type. So my wrist is not that big. I can wrap my hand around it. My ankles are skinny. If I start putting on weight, it starts on my belly. If I'm tempted by some food, it's going to be a starchy thing. Like, don't leave me in front of a cake. Don't leave the room. That's the thyroid type. So my healthy diet should be, well, again, depends on the other factors, but basic, just strip down. Thyroid does better on light foods like white proteins, so it'd be fish, chicken, turkey. Not so great on red meat. If they overdo it, they get gout, but they need to be careful with the starches, because if they overdo that, they get themselves diabetes. So that's the thyroid type. So I just talked about me. I don't know, you look somewhat more toward the adrenal, but not that much. Right? Like,
but definitely autonomic, because the alcohol description was just that told me where I was on autonomic. I don't know what it means in terms of the rest of it, though.
Right. Well, no, when we do the challenge tests, we tell people, okay, start with 2 challenges. One is going to be a fat challenge, and the other one is going to be a carb challenge. So in your fat challenge, you can take a spoonful of coconut oil or a shot of olive oil or a piece of steak that's really fat and just eat it. And 20, 30 minutes later, you will have your answer to what happens when you take fat. You will either vector toward the acidity, which is unsettled and nervous, or toward alkalinity, which may be settled well or downright despondent, like dark. Now, the other, that now we do the opposite test, which is something starchy. You can just take 40 grams of dextrose if you want to just push it with a bit of potassium, or just eat a banana, or take a shot of whiskey or whatever. It's going to push you in some way. Just the same thing, except it will be for sure the opposite of what the fat did. And it's the reconfirmation of the test, right? So now that we have you typed, we don't even have to give you a fat push, because we know that if you overdo the fats, you're going to be argumentative and your hands will be shaking.
Definitely want to avoid that in dentistry.
That's what I mean, right? Like, don't push a big steak at lunch and then go back to work. You're going to be awake, but nervous. Now, if you overdo the carbs, you're going to be trying to fall asleep by about 2 p.m. Right? That's just the way your body will work. Not everybody does that, but there are so many people that have this mid-afternoon low, right? Like, there are these natural tides. The most alkaline moment of our lives is somewhere around 2 p.m., and the most acidic is somewhere around 2 a.m. So people will be waking up around 2 a.m. because their acidity is peaked, and they're just needing to alkalize. For a lot of people, that means that they have not had enough fat and fiber at dinner time.
So interestingly enough, then, a lot of people who are, in some ways maybe judging themselves or trying to figure out, like, why am I not feeling great? My mind, my thoughts overall. And I think that, going back to food is medicine, food is also something dangerous, right? It's a bad medicine.
Yeah.
So I guess, what in your world of this metabolic typing, what type of messaging can clinicians bring to patients to help them better understand this type of philosophy? Like, is there a way to communicate very quickly and easily that, hey, what are you eating, and have you considered working with a coach or a dietitian or whatever?
Yeah, I think the awareness is great, right? 75% of all prescriptions that are filled are actually either, they're mental shifts. They're either for anxiety or for depression. That is a frightful thing. So contemplate the fact that some of it or much of it is actually controlled by food. So I don't know what people ask you, doctor, I'm feeling nervous. Doctor, I'm not sleeping well. I don't know what are those questions, right? So for example, I'm not sleeping well, as in, okay, are you having trouble falling asleep or staying asleep? Some people are both. But the falling asleep is you're too acidic after dinner. You need to alkalize. So we can push things like magnesium and chlorophyll, because those are the nutrients that will promote the parasympathetic side of the autonomic nervous system. That's what we need to do. Or, doc, I'm depressed. I can't get up in the morning. I'm just, right? So, well, we need to find what makes him more acidic and give it to him. For one guy, it's going to be a fruit salad for breakfast. For another, it's going to be something greasy. 2 eggs and 2 links of bacon or whatever, rafts of bacon, something like that.
I'm curious also, because I mean, we read a lot about alkaline water. So in terms of hydration, is there similar correlation, or in general, is the alkaline water absorbed better in our bodies? Do you have any comments on that?
Right. So water, that's a mysterious, awesome thing I've actually spent years with. And we actually have gizmos, little gadgets. They are actually right here in the bottom of my bottle, ceramic pieces. And these things do the following. They break up the clustering that's in the water. Water, as it travels through straight pipes, experiences laminar friction. The molecules that are at the walls on the outside perimeter are being slowed down by the walls. And then the next molecule is being slowed down by the one, and so on toward the center. So the water is moving fastest at the middle of the pipe and slower. So anyway, this is the movement. And it's building up static charge. And when you get it, there is high surface tension and big clusters in the water. And we need to lower the surface tension. You can do that by adding soap, but that's not tasting good. And you can reduce the cluster size, which is done by mechanical stirring. You can vortex it, spin it this way, and then the other way, and so on and so on. So, but these little ceramic bits, they do that just on contact. And so now you have water that's lower surface tension, more alkaline, as in, well, balanced alkaline, better ORP, as in more willing to enter into chemical transactions, and finally, smaller clusters. So that's what you want. Now, when you buy spring water, it may be good, but it also may have traveled through several miles of pipes. I don't know. If you get it straight out of a creek in the mountains, it's going to be awesome. Now, adding minerals to it, you may be doing the right thing or the wrong thing, depending on the person, right? Some people definitely need more calcium than others. Some people definitely do better on silica, so Fiji water is an awesome tool for some. So again, biological individuality, it's not straightforward.
Yeah, because I was having some problems for several years where I just didn't matter how much I drank. I always felt dehydrated, and I consulted with some people, and I wound up buying a medical grade Kangen water machine. Yeah, right. And it's been I haven't felt dehydrated, and I feel it's really all I drink. I barely drink anything else. That I stay away from plastic. Like I see you, of course, no plastic stick, but. Can you talk a little bit about that? Is that a worthy investment?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Kangen has some kind of an inner magic that others don't have. Like, not all water ionizers are made the same. I've had multiple examples of clients who were buying Kangen water and improving their symptoms, including better from cancer. And then they went ahead and bought a $2,000 unit instead of the $5,000 that this costs. Did not get the benefit. There's some kind of an inner magic, and I think that the Kangen machine has something like this. I don't know what they do or how they do it, but they get the results. Now, not knocking your Kangen machine, but this is $40.
My Kangen machine was much more than that. But for those that are listening, so Kangen, to my understanding, is Japanese for life, like the water of life. And it has the ability to do very low pH water for disinfection, very high pH. Well, I've been drinking the 9.5 pH for a good year and a half, and I definitely sense that there's been a significant shift in my well-being. And so I'm very grateful for it. And honestly, I don't pee as much. I drink quite a bit, but I don't pee as much.
Tell me this: are you an early riser?
Yes.
I thought as much. I should have said it as a positive statement, because the alkalizing, you see, our early risers are acidic in at the beginning of the day. So pushing the alkalinity is a wise move on your part.
So kind of neutralize.
It helps to move you closer to balance, right?
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Yes. Makes sense. It's helped a lot. It really has.
Well, and there's you're just reconfirming your type, but also your physiology and also what you're doing with it, right? Like it's actually logical physiologically.
Now, the other thing I've been doing, I have been taking magnesium at night. Is that the right thing for me, or should I be taking it in the morning also?
Well, in the morning it'll slow you down, which it's okay if you feel shaky, but you don't need it. I think I would just use it for relaxation. If ever you feel like shutting it down, then clinical dose of magnesium.
Yeah, great. I love it. Confirming my routines here, Martin. So I appreciate it. You know, another line of thinking then for us is, so now we treat patients all day long, and the patients are nervous. You know, a lot of the traits that you described, you know, they probably are exacerbated in our chairs. Do you ever have like any thoughts on how we can recommend our patients eat so that they to a good response management?
Well, other than hypnosis, which I think is awesome, I would go with a shot of chlorella. You should probably have either liquid chlorophyll or chlorella tablets that they can chew on. Of course, they'll have a green mouth, so you have to rinse them out. But if you hit them, chlorella is the most parasympathizing, or no, chlorophyll is the most parasympathizing, relaxing food there is.
Tell me more, like what type of forms? Is it just tablets? Is it a mix in water?
All of the above. All of the above. You can buy chlorella in powder. That's how we sell it. But you can also buy it in tablets. You can buy liquid chlorophyll. It's available. It's just green. Very, very green. Wheatgrass, barley grass, alfalfa, all of that stuff that's just the young shoots of plants that are loaded with the, I don't know what you call it, the young life, the youngest shoots, right? They're just the most healthful thing.
And the impact or effect of it, how long does it last?
20 to 50 minutes, thereabouts.
Oh, wow.
Right? Like your body will metabolize it and then go back to its own thing.
And is this something you would take for certain instances, or is this a daily type of supplement that's beneficial for someone, let's say, that is very anxious or nervous or maybe suffering and trying to manage trauma?
So my morning drink, because of my physiology, is actually a lot of greens. So I have chlorella and spirulina and a whole bunch of other things in a fruity drink, because for me, carbohydrates are calming. So that's how I do it. You could put that into a protein drink for somebody who needs fats and proteins. Like you can put a spoonful of coconut oil and 2 raw eggs and push it in the other direction. But the beneficial ones are the greens. Yeah. So I think you would do well on a similar type of a thing, some kind of a green superfood smoothie.
Yes, I've seen so many, different lines. Like I know Athletic Greens is one of them. There's a bunch of them on the market, so I'll have to try that. And the other thing, I'm really curious about your opinion on mushrooms. So there's mushroom coffee, there's mushroom extract and creamer. Where do mushrooms fit in as a dietary supplement, and do you support?
Okay, so I'll start with coffee. So the adrenal types, which you and I are not, do just fine with coffee. Thyroids don't do well on stimulants. So For me, coffee is too much. Like I just don't handle it. As far as mushrooms go, then they're not all the same, right? Like they're different ones. Like we already know that reishi is just an awesome life tonic. That one I would go with just as a universal keep well tonic. Lion's mane is well known for supporting mental function, brain function. In general, mushrooms, yes, and fermented mushrooms, even better. So general mushroom coffee, well, it doesn't taste as good as real coffee if you're into coffee.
I enjoy it. Gotten used to it, but I just appreciate the opportunity to get these mushrooms in. I've watched a lot of the documentaries, on phyto, and it just or Myco, and it just seems like such a no brainer to incorporate some of this into our diet. But what would you say would be the greatest advantage or disadvantage of using, like, and I'm not talking about psychedelic mushrooms here, just for clarity. We're talking about just, cordyceps and lion's mane, and just like you mentioned,
Well, I'll start by saying that I am not an active user, but I am a proponent of psilocybin. It's done phenomenal things for people who have had either end of life kind of trauma, like really bad news. You have 6 weeks, get ready, or you have 3 months, get ready. That has really helped people to get perspective on things. And also people who have come from horrible experiences like PTSD type. I would not keep it from them. Anyway, that's me on psilocybin. As far as mushrooms go, they're awesome concentrators. They get out of the dying wood that they grow upon all of the mineralization, all the nutrients. They concentrate it and hold it. So they're phenomenal source of good nutrition. Right? They help us be strong. So yep. Yay, mushrooms.
Yeah. And to your point, just revisiting the plant medicine topic, psilocybin, ayahuasca, these are all becoming incredibly, popular and valuable for mental health and wellness. So I guess what it comes down to is, they say set and setting, right? So in your experience, let's say someone did want to experiment with psilocybin or maybe be guided through it. I know there's a number of services that allow you to have sort of guidance with a counselor, and they send other. But what would you say for someone that was curious about that? What would be some legitimate resources that they could look at that as an option?
Yeah, that's I don't know. That this is I'm not practicing with it, and it's controlled substance in so many places, so I don't know.
Perfect. So we can maybe move on from some of the more archaic type of pushes that they put on us as a society, excluding the food pyramid and all the hideout, those corn soup.
I'm not a great fan of the concept of money in politics, which leads us to tilted playing fields, right? It's the great big food industry, big pharma industry, big chemical, big agriculture. All of these are exerting an undue influence over the legislators. The problem is that the legislator has to go raise money. So if I called you for $20,000, you say, well, how have you done for me with the last $20,000? Or what do you promise to do for me with this $20,000? And I will have to say, I will protect your interest.
It's a sad but absolutely true, looking what our systems are. And so hopefully we'll be evolving those as well. Martin, I do sometimes what I call rapid fire, and I'd like to I'm going to throw out a food or some type of food stuff, and I'd love for you just, briefly just give us your quickest, just off the top, what you think of it. So let's start with kombucha.
All right. Too much sugar, too much acidity, too much alcohol. Forget about it.
Okay. What about dark chocolate?
It's awesome. Chocolate is great, especially for people who need calming. There is this thing called anandamide that gets released. I'd say yes.
How about dried fruit without additional sugars?
Well, it's loaded with fructose, so you're going to push your liver. And dates are pretty well, as long as you don't mind, what are they called? Salicylates, right? Here's a problem. Some people are sensitive to oxalates, some are to solanins, as in, what are they called? Nightshades. And then some people are bad with salicylates. So you need to figure it out. Well, okay, 2 dates, yes, 12 dates,
Moderation. What about like Japanese sweet potatoes, like purple sweet potato?
Well, okay, it's all starch, right? So if starch is okay with you, which in your case it is, right? Starch is calming to you. If you want a balanced meal, you need to have some starch in it. But if you overdo it, you'll start putting on weight. So take a pick. I would take a purple potato before I would eat wheat, like spaghetti or rice.
Okay. What about sparkling water?
Why not? Carbon dioxide comes in with it. It turns into carbonic acid. You can easily neutralize it by drinking Kangen water or by throwing some baking soda in your drink. So sparkling soda is 1 foot on the gas, 1 foot on the brake. It's okay with me, right? It's just minerals.
Yeah. I'm just going to throw this out here, just, in a women of prayer that you have something good to say. What about ice cream?
Okay, well, I already banned dairy. That's been homogenized and pasteurized. I've already banned sugar. I've already... good luck.
Okay, so then I'll dial it back. What about like frozen Greek yogurt? Greek yogurt, is that a better option?
No, because it's still dairy. Okay, now listen, if you want a sweet something, why don't you go find one of those coconut yogurt dipped in dark chocolate dessert treats? They are out there in grocery stores in the freezer section. They're not cheap. They're probably $2 each, but have fun.
Yeah, well, I definitely have, just for those out there, there are a number of coffee creamer products that are non-dairy, that are either coconut or almond. I don't drink regular milk anymore. I drink almond milk. So I definitely have made that switch. So my understanding is that, go ahead. Yeah.
I do want to make a point on your almond milk, and that's this.
Tell me.
All nuts, seeds, and legumes have the natural defense. It's phytoestrogenic in nature. So if you eat them, well, like this, you need to soak them or you need to sprout them to disable the estrogenic effect. So if you're drinking almond milk, it probably was not soaked almonds before they made it into the milk. If you make your own, do it this way. Take the almonds, soak them for 3 hours, skin them, as in like you squish the almonds, they slip out of the skin, then you make your almond milk. Otherwise, you're pushing estrogen, which after 45, you start noticing that you're less manly than you used to be.
Wow.
So you may need to just go get some, if you insist on your almond milk, get some testosterone promoting supplements as well.
Well, so then is oat milk a better option?
No, it's even worse. Right. Oh yeah, oat milk is just spike in glucose. No, rice milk and oat milk are really spiky. Almond milk is better. Coconut milk is better, but we have this problem with the estrogen effect.
Interesting. And so, wow, that's really enlightening, Martin. I mean, I think this is we're just, even as clinicians, I mean, we're just completely undereducated on this. And I know there's been a much greater awareness brought to gut biome and, maintaining it and not destroying it. And so do you have any thoughts on like the best things to, I mean, you already mentioned the obvious things to avoid, which is all the processed, but in terms of like full foods and the right things, what can we do that will help to contribute to a healthy gut biome?
Yeah, this is a big issue. And I want to start with the 2 worst things you can do. Well, maybe 3. 1, chlorine. We put that in drinking water to kill bacteria. When you drink chlorinated water, you're going to be killing the bacteria inside of you. Don't. Number 2, glyphosate or Roundup. It's these days on wheat and chickpeas and lentils and all kinds of things. Corn for sure. So organic only, please. Because for the following reason, glyphosate is an antibiotic. It kills the plant by killing the microbes that are at the roots of the plant, thereby depriving it of its ability to extract nutrients. It doesn't die like you burn it. It dies slowly. Well, when you put it in your gut, you're putting in trace amounts, but enough to affect your health for sure. And then, of course, then there's antibiotics themselves. They're definitely killing your microbes. And then other drugs too. Now, to support humic acid is really important. So if you can get your hands on that, we do sell it in our store. Humic acid is important. And then you can supplement probiotics. That would be sauerkraut, kimchi, that sort of stuff. Or just store-bought probiotics if you want. And then you need to feed them something. The microbes eat fiber. So you need to feed some fiber. They are known as oligosaccharides. There are 8 known types, fructooligosaccharides, and I don't know, a whole bunch of Greek words. You need whole foods, high fiber. You need, I don't know what. Well, the red potato is a good idea. Beans and stuff like that. Stuff that has lots of fiber. Apples. We sell apple fiber, for example, as a supplement. An apple a day,
And you mentioned organic. Can we trust these organic labels? Like, for instance, at Whole Foods? Or...
Sort of, maybe. My South American supplier of this such and such ingredient says, do you want this organic or regular? Then I said, what's the difference? He said, the piece of paper. I don't know. But certainly in the United States, Big Agra is in charge, and you cannot trust their products. Cannot. It's loaded with chemicals. So you have to use organic.
Yep. Wow. Well, this is super enlightening, and really appreciate your time and expertise. I'm curious, can you tell us a little bit about what you're offering right now? Tell us about your website. You mentioned in your store, you have a number of products. So what I'm trying to do with this podcast is build a community of support, where listeners can just have these different resources that they know and they're more comfortable with now that they've heard a little more of their story. So what can you share with us about what you're offering and how our listeners can reach you?
So we make our own superfoods. It's called Exua, spelled EXSULA. And you would find it in the store, life-enthusiast.com. And there, well, we have rounded it out. We have 600 different products, each of which fits a different hole that people create in their lifestyle. The general thing is that we're trying to compensate for the deficiencies of the foods as you find them. In the grocery store, foods are deficient. Soils are depleted. There's just not enough mineralization. There's not enough nutrient density in the foods we eat. And so that is number one. And then, of course, if you already have problems, if you have a cardiovascular, or if you have, I don't know what names of illnesses you want me to name, any one of those things, other than bullet wounds and car accidents, most everything is related to what you put in your mouth, whether you inhaled it, or you drank it, or you chewed it, or maybe I should include makeup and cleaning products. All of that we take care of by offering you things that are not toxic and compensating for the deficiencies of the industrial world as we find it.
This is an online store.
Oh, yeah. Very much so.
And do you have advisors that help customers navigate?
Yes, I'm one of them, and there's a full staff waiting for your calls, all trained, herbalist, nutritionist, physio. We have all kinds of specialties to address a question.
Beautiful. And we'll have all this linked up in the show notes as well, along with your podcast. I mean, I appreciate your time so much, Martin. As a last question, as we navigate these podcast episodes, I always think, there's an 18-year-old being in front of you, whatever that looks like, and they just have this feeling in their belly, in their heart. They want to live a great life. They want to contribute They want to find something that's going to fulfill them, that matters, that makes their life worth living. And they're asking you, in your experience, what's one concrete step, like one tangible step that they can get started with to start them down the path of life? What would be the advice you'd offer, Martin?
Okay. Journal. Keep your gratitudes list. Yeah. Remember what you're grateful for. Write it down. Whatever you write down, you're actually writing an order to the universe store to deliver it to you. In your hands, don't type it in a computer, write it on a piece of paper. And well, it's the spirituality. Get your direction right, which will then direct your thoughts, which will then direct your emotions, and habits will form, well, thoughts will form habits, and habits will form a lifestyle. So, yep, think big picture and start with reading useful things. Do not scroll on social media. Read the classics. Start with that.
Beautiful, beautiful advice. Martin Pytela, I mean, I've learned so much in this episode. I'm so grateful. Like I said, in sort of doing some research, I've been listening to a number of your episodes, really well thought out podcast. You obviously have so much wisdom and the ability to articulate these facts and these names. So very, very grateful. I'd like to continue this conversation on functional medicine, on food as medicine. I think it's something just very undertaught and something I am gaining more and more interest in. So I'm really grateful to have had the opportunity to speak with you and learn from you. And so we'll have everything linked up again. Love the name, by the way, Life Enthusiast, as you know, that says it all, right? And so I appreciate that you've been able to spend this time with us. Again, as a audience of clinicians, we first have to take care of ourselves, which is unfortunately the last thing we're taught. But I think everything you're discussing and promoting is so much about the clinician taking care of themselves first, so that they have so much to give other people, including, to your point, advice to even patients on how they might consider their diet. And being that we're privy to their information and their medicines, you can very quickly start to understand what the ailments are, or we can learn as clinicians about how to counterbalance that. We can really help people in a deeper way. So I appreciate the knowledge and your time.
Thank you.